A deep silence filled the observation deck of Aurora 7, the most advanced human space station orbiting Jupiter's moon, Ganymede. The station's purpose was simple: study the quantum anomalies detected in the region. Yet, what Dr. Elias Carter and his team had just discovered defied all logic. "Run the scan again." Carter's voice was steady, but his hands gripped the console tightly. His assistant, Dr. Maya Brooks, tapped furiously on the hollow interface. The anomaly was still there. A signal, repeating in a pattern, one that shouldn't exist according to known physics. It wasn't random. It wasn't interference. It was structured. And it was coming from nowhere. Maya's fingers trembled as she adjusted the quantum filters. The signal wasn't just an ordinary radio wave, it was slipping in and out of existence, appearing across multiple dimensions at once. "Elias, this isn't just a transmission. She swallowed hard. "It's a message." Carter leaned forward. The waveforms were shifting, as if something was alive inside them, trying to communicate. Then it happened. The signal responded. Not passively, actively. As if it knew it was being watched. A chilling realization swept through the room. Someone, or something, was watching them back. The warning. Carter immediately called in his lead engineer, Lieutenant Ryan Kessler, and astrophysicist Dr. Sophia Patel. Sophia's brows furrowed as she studied the data. "This frequency, it's fluctuating between quantum states. This isn't natural." Kessler folded his arms. "So, are we saying aliens?" Maya shook her head. "It's bigger than that. If I'm reading this right, this signal is violating causality." Carter's heart pounded. Causality, the fundamental rule that cause precedes effect. If this was true, they weren't just dealing with an alien transmission. They were dealing with something that could see the future. Sophia suddenly gasped. "Wait. It's changing." The waveform shifted again, this time, forming symbols that were eerily similar to ancient human writings. And then, the screen glitched. A message appeared in English, written in a fractured, broken script. "Do not trust quantum. It sees. It remembers." The lights in the observation deck flickered. A pulse of energy surged through the station. Then, just as suddenly, the signal vanished. A heavy silence fell over the team. Quantum sees? Quantum remembers? What the hell did that mean? The forbidden experiment. NASA's official stance on Aurora 7's mission was clear: observe, do not interfere. But Carter knew they had just stumbled onto something far beyond human comprehension. Back on Earth, NASA dismissed the event as a sensor malfunction. They refused to acknowledge the implications. But Carter couldn't let it go. This wasn't a mistake. Something was out there, something aware, something intelligent. And it had just sent them a warning. That's when Carter made his decision. "We're going in." Maya's eyes widened. "You mean?" "We track the signal to its source." Carter turned to his team. "If this thing is manipulating quantum states, we need to go beyond standard observation." A deep silence followed. They all knew what that meant. They would have to break every rule of interstellar protocol. Into the unknown. 3 days later, under the cover of a routine maintenance mission, Carter and his team boarded the research vessel Excalibur, a state-of-the-art quantum exploration craft designed for deep space anomaly studies. Their destination? The exact coordinates where the signal first appeared. As the Excalibur drifted away from Aurora 7, Carter felt a strange unease settle in his chest. Was this really a mission of discovery? Or had they just stepped into something they were never meant to find? The fracture. It took 12 hours to reach the coordinates. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The space around them was empty, no planets, no asteroids, no debris. And then, Sophia screamed. A massive void had appeared right in front of them. A fracture in space itself. The Excalibur's sensors went haywire. The void wasn't just empty space, it was something else entirely. Kessler tried to reverse course, but it was too late. The Excalibur lurched forward, dragged inside the anomaly. Reality collapsed. Everything went dark. And then, they weren't in their universe anymore. A void. Infinite, silent, and suffocating. Carter had felt weightlessness before, but this was different. His body wasn't floating. It was falling. Kessler. Maya. Sophia. His voice was drowned in a deep, humming vibration, as if the universe itself was whispering back. Then, a blinding flash. Carter's vision snapped back, and suddenly, he wasn't in the Excalibur anymore. He stood in the middle of a vast, endless landscape. A grayish-white expanse stretched in every direction. The ground beneath his feet felt solid, yet fluid at the same time, shifting like liquid metal. There was no sky. No sun. No stars. Just an infinite horizon. And then, he heard the voices. Faint whispers. Indistinct, but familiar. His heart pounded. Where am I? A sudden shockwave surged through the space, and Carter fell to his knees. The whispers grew louder, forming words. You came too soon. Carter's breath caught. It knew he was here. And worse, it was expecting him. The others. A shudder ran through the ground. A silhouette appeared in the distance. It wasn't human. Its form was shifting, unstable, like a being made of liquid shadows. Carter's instincts screamed at him to run, but something held him in place. The figure drifted closer. As it moved, the very fabric of the space around it glitched, distorting reality. Then, Carter saw its eyes. Not one. Not two. But thousands, shifting and rearranging across its form. Carter had seen many strange things in his career. Nothing compared to this. The entity stared into him, through him. And then, it spoke. You do not belong here. Carter forced himself to speak. Where is my crew? The entity's form twisted unnaturally. The voices around them warped into something deeper. Then, a terrifying realization struck Carter. The voices weren't coming from the entity. They were coming from inside his own mind. Back on the Excalibur. A deafening alarm blared as the Excalibur trembled violently. Maya's vision was still blurry, but she managed to grab onto the control panel. Kessler. Sophia. Anyone, what the hell is happening? Kessler was struggling to regain control. The ship wasn't responding. The fracture in space had swallowed them whole, and now they were in an unknown dimension. Sophia gasped. I can't find Carter. He's not on the ship. Maya's blood ran cold. What do you mean he's not on the ship? Where did he go? The Excalibur's quantum sensors flickered wildly. Kessler cursed under his breath. This place is messing with reality. If Carter isn't here, then... A metallic screech cut him off. Something was moving outside. Something was watching them. The fractured reality. Carter gritted his teeth, trying to hold on to his thoughts. The entity was in his mind now, searching, digging. Images flashed through his consciousness, his childhood, his first space mission, the day he learned about quantum anomalies. Then, the images shifted. Things he had never seen before. A dark machine, stretching across an alien world. Skies burning with unnatural colors. And then, Earth. Carter's stomach turned. The images were showing the future. A future where Earth was destroyed. He clenched his fists. Who are you? The entity's many eyes blinked in unison. We are memory. A horrifying understanding struck Carter. The entity wasn't just alive. It was quantum itself. It existed in every moment of time simultaneously. It had seen every future, every past. And now, it was showing Carter something he wasn't meant to see. The warning. Carter's vision shifted again. Now, he saw a figure. Human-like, but wrong. It stood at the edge of a ruined city. The sky above was shattered, fractured like glass. The being slowly turned toward him. And then, it spoke. You must choose. A deafening roar filled the air. The landscape around Carter collapsed. The last thing he saw was the figure's hollow, glowing eyes. Then, everything went black. On the Excalibur, reality breaks. Maya screamed as the Excalibur's hull shook violently. Kessler yelled, "We're losing structural integrity." And then, a pulse of light surged through the ship. Carter's body materialized out of thin air, collapsing onto the deck. Maya and Sophia rushed to his side. His eyes fluttered open. He gasped a single sentence. We were never supposed to see this. A dull ringing filled Carter's ears. His breath came in sharp gasps as the overwhelming weight of existence pressed down on him. He wasn't sure how long he had been gone. Or if he had ever truly returned. Maya's panicked voice cut through the haze. Carter. Look at me. What happened? Where did you go? His body trembled as he tried to sit up, his mind still tangled in the fragments of a reality that wasn't supposed to be seen. Then he whispered the words that no human should ever have spoken. We were never supposed to see this. The silent terror. A heavy silence filled the bridge of the Excalibur. Sophia's hands trembled as she ran a scanner over Carter. His vitals are unstable. Brainwave activity is, she stopped, eyes widening. This can't be right. Kessler gripped the side of his console. What is it? Sophia swallowed hard. He's experiencing quantum displacement. Maya's blood ran cold. What does that even mean? Sophia met her gaze, her face pale. He's existing in multiple states at once. His mind has seen something beyond our reality, and now his brain is struggling to process it. Kessler cursed under his breath. We need to get out of here. Now. Maya turned to the ship's main display, only to find something that made her heart stop. The void outside was shifting. No longer a simple empty space, now it was moving. Like it was watching them. Something is coming. The Excalibur's AI system flickered. The ship's automated warning came through, but the voice sounded wrong. It wasn't the usual sterile, robotic tone. This voice felt alive. Warning, displacement detected, anomaly approaching. The crew barely had time to react before the ship lurched violently. Outside the main viewport, the void began to break apart. Dark shapes emerged, twisting and forming into unnatural figures. Some looked partially human, others were monstrous echoes of things that should not exist. Then, a sound. Not a normal sound. Not a scream. It was a distortion of reality itself. Carter's body convulsed as his mind connected to something unseen. Images rushed through him. A machine buried deep within an alien world, pulsating with energy. A fractured sky collapsing like broken glass. And then, Earth. Burning. Carter's hands clenched into fists. His body was still half tethered to whatever had spoken to him in the void. Then, the voice returned. You must choose. The impossible choice. Carter forced himself upright, his breathing ragged. They're showing me something. They're trying to, his mind struggled for words. They're warning us. Maya grabbed his arm. Warning us about what? Carter's vision flickered. He saw two futures. One where humanity thrived, expanding across the stars. Another where Earth was reduced to ashes. Both futures were real. But only one would come to pass. And the choice was being forced upon him. The dark figures outside the ship moved closer. Kessler slammed his fist on the console. Enough of this. We're getting out of here, now. He reached for the ship's warp drive controls. But then, Carter grabbed his wrist. His eyes were different now. They glowed. The warning of the quantum beings. Carter's voice was no longer entirely his own. It echoed, layered with something else. If we leave now, we seal humanity's fate. The crew stared at him. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. Carter, you're scaring me. He turned toward her, eyes still glowing with an unnatural light. They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to show us a mistake we haven't made yet. Maya shook her head. I don't understand. Carter exhaled sharply. There's something buried beneath the surface of an alien world, a machine. It's connected to quantum mechanics in ways we don't understand. Sophia's eyes widened. A quantum machine? Carter nodded. It wasn't built by the beings we see outside. It was built by someone else. Someone older. Kessler's fingers hovered over the warp drive switch. And if we leave, what happens? Carter's face darkened. We doom Earth. The truth of the machine. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. What does the machine do? Carter turned to face the viewport, where the entities still loomed outside. It was meant to stabilize the universe. The words felt impossible, but he knew they were true. Carter clenched his jaw. And someone turned it off. A race against time. The ship's systems flickered violently. The Excalibur wasn't meant to exist in a fractured reality for this long. They had minutes before the ship was ripped apart. Kessler cursed. We need to make a decision. Now. Carter turned back to his crew, the weight of the entire universe pressing on his shoulders. Maya hesitated, then nodded. Where is the machine? Carter didn't even have to think. The knowledge had been burned into his mind. It's on a planet in an uncharted system. He took a deep breath. And if we don't get there first, someone else will. Sophia's voice was steady. Then we go. Kessler gritted his teeth, then flipped the controls. Setting course. Outside, the dark figures watched. And then, they stepped aside. The Excalibur's engines roared to life. And in a flash of light, the ship vanished into the unknown. The Excalibur tore through the fabric of space, leaving behind the fractured void and the unknowable entities lurking within it. For a moment, there was nothing but the hum of the ship's engines and the distant flickering of stars outside the viewport. But within the crew, tension thickened like a storm waiting to break. Carter leaned against the bulkhead, rubbing his temples. His mind still throbbed with the weight of what he had seen, two futures, one of hope and one of destruction. And the machine, the ancient quantum device buried beneath an alien world, its very existence tied to the fate of Earth. ETA to the coordinates? Kessler's voice cut through the silence. Sophia glanced at the navigation display. 6 hours. But we're heading into completely uncharted territory. There's no telling what we'll find. Maya crossed her arms, her brows furrowed. If that machine is so important, why hasn't anyone else discovered it before? Carter exhaled. Because the universe doesn't work the way we think it does. Maya shot him a questioning look. He looked up, his eyes still holding the faintest glow from his encounter with the entities. We assume time is linear. We assume cause and effect always follow a logical path. But what if that machine wasn't always buried on that planet? A silence settled over them. Then Sophia whispered, "You mean, what if someone moved it there?" Carter nodded. "And what if we were never supposed to find it?" A message from the past. The ship's AI flickered. A warning display flashed across the console. Anomaly detected. Incoming transmission. Kessler frowned. From where? Sophia's fingers danced across the controls. It's impossible. There's no signal source. Carter's pulse quickened. Play it. A burst of static filled the bridge. Then, a voice. It was distorted, warped by something beyond normal transmission interference. But there was no mistaking the horror in the speaker's tone. "If you're hearing this, turn back." Maya stiffened. "Who is that?" The voice continued, shaky, barely holding together. "We thought we could control it. We thought we understood. But we were wrong. So wrong." Sophia's hands clenched. "This isn't a normal message. It's entangled. The signal is." Carter finished her thought. "Coming from outside time." The transmission crackled again. "You have to listen. It's not a machine. It's a doorway." A cold chill settled over the crew. The voice screamed. Then silence. Maya took a step back, shaking her head. "No. No, that doesn't make sense. A doorway to what?" Carter's heart pounded. He already knew the answer. To somewhere we were never meant to go. Arrival at the lost world. The Excalibur dropped out of FTL space into the orbit of a desolate, uncharted planet. The crew stood in stunned silence. The planet was wrong. From orbit, its surface flickered, like two realities were trying to exist at once. One moment it was barren and lifeless, covered in jagged stone and desert-like terrain. The next, it was lush and thriving, with massive alien structures rising from its surface, impossibly ancient yet untouched by time. Maya swallowed hard. Which one is real? Sophia ran scans, her voice unsteady. Both. And neither. Kessler cursed under his breath. "We should leave. Right now." But Carter couldn't look away. The planet called to him. The machine, or the doorway, was down there. Waiting. And someone, or something, was waiting with it. Descent into the unknown. The Excalibur's shuttle pierced through the unstable atmosphere, turbulence shaking the craft violently as they descended. Outside the viewport, the landscape continued to shift. 1 second, they were flying over endless dunes of alien sand. The next, towering monoliths of black stone materialized beneath them, as if they had always been there. Sophia gritted her teeth. This planet is phasing in and out of reality. Maya tightened her grip on the controls. "We're landing. Hold on." The shuttle touched down, kicking up dust, or was it dust? For a split second, it looked like liquid shadow, swirling unnaturally before settling. Carter unbuckled his harness, his pulse hammering. "Let's move." The crew stepped onto the surface, the alien air heavy with an unseen force. Every breath felt like inhaling something that wasn't supposed to exist. And then, the ground shifted beneath them. Not like an earthquake. Like the planet itself was watching them. The doorway beneath the world. Sophia's scanner beeped. "I've got something." A structure, underground. Carter barely heard her. Because ahead of them, the ground had opened. A massive entrance, an impossible doorway leading into darkness. Etched across its frame were symbols Carter recognized, though he had never seen them before. They matched the markings he had glimpsed in his vision. This was it. This was where the universe's fate would be decided. Maya exhaled, steadying herself. Last chance to turn back. Kessler's voice was firm. "No. We finish what we started. Carter stepped forward. The darkness swallowed him whole. The others followed. Then, without a sound, the doorway sealed behind them. And in the silence, something moved. Total darkness. Carter's breath was loud in his ears. His heartbeat pounded like a war drum. He blinked, but it made no difference, there was nothing to see. The doorway had sealed behind them, cutting off all light. "Everyone okay?" Kessler's voice came through, sharp and controlled. "Define okay," Maya muttered. "We just walked into the belly of an alien nightmare." Sophia's hand brushed against the wall. It was warm. Not stone, not metal, something else. Something that felt alive. "This isn't natural," she whispered. Carter exhaled slowly, trying to calm the unease curling in his gut. "No turning back now. We find the machine, we end this." A second later, the ground lit up beneath them. Lines of pale blue light flickered to life, stretching outward in an intricate network of symbols and pathways. The walls shifted, not physically, but as if reality itself was adjusting to their presence. Then, the ground dropped. Or at least, it felt like it did. Gravity flipped, twisted. For a breathless second, they were falling, but then, their feet found solid ground again. The sensation left them dizzy, their senses struggling to keep up. And then they saw it. The machine. The chamber before them was massive, an impossible space stretching far beyond what the planet's surface should have allowed. And at its center stood the machine. It wasn't mechanical, not in the way human technology worked. It floated in the air, a shifting construct of interconnected rings and glowing symbols, constantly rewriting itself in patterns Carter couldn't comprehend. Energy pulsed through it, alive, aware. And then it spoke. The voice of the unknown. Not in words. Not in sound. But directly into their minds. "You are not supposed to be here." Carter staggered back, a cold pressure squeezing against his skull. The others winced, holding their heads. Kessler gritted his teeth. "Who are you?" The machine shifted. More symbols rewrote themselves. "We are what remains of the architects. The ones who built the lattice of reality." Maya swallowed hard. "Lattice? You mean, the laws of physics?" The voice didn't confirm or deny. Instead, it unraveled something, a flicker of memory not their own. For a brief moment, Carter saw a universe before this one. A time when the laws of physics were not yet fixed, where existence itself was fluid. And in that chaos, something else tried to take root. Something that was never meant to exist. Then, the vision snapped away. The machine's voice returned. "You have disrupted the balance. The observer sees you." The observer. The temperature in the chamber dropped. A shadow moved at the far edge of the room, impossible, considering the entire space was illuminated by the machine's glow. But it was there. Watching. Carter's breath hitched. Who, or what is the observer? The machine pulsed. It was sealed outside. Outside of time. Outside of existence. You have weakened the barrier. The shadow lurched forward. Maya grabbed her weapon. "I don't like this." Carter understood now. The machine wasn't just a machine. It was a lock. A lock keeping something out. And they had just opened the door. A fight against reality itself. The shadow lunged. It didn't move like a creature, it glitched. 1 second it was across the room, the next, right in front of them. A twisting, shifting form of darkness, its very presence bending reality around it. Kessler fired his rifle. The bullets never reached it. They froze midair, then twisted, unraveling into something that shouldn't exist. Sophia screamed as the shadow lashed out, its form stretching like liquid void. The air around them warped. The machine flickered. It is rewriting the rules. Maya yanked Carter back as the ground beneath them shifted. Gravity reversed. Carter felt himself being pulled sideways, the wall stretching into infinity. The observer was unmaking reality itself. And it was winning. The only way out. Carter's mind raced. They couldn't fight this. But they could fix the machine. He turned to Sophia. Tell me you can reboot it. She scanned the ever-changing symbols, her fingers trembling. It's quantum locked. I don't even know where to start. Kessler fired again. This time, his bullets hit something. The shadow screeched. Not in pain. In rage. It flickered, its form twisting uncontrollably. A glitch. Carter's eyes widened. It's unstable. It's not supposed to be here. Sophia's hands flew across her datapad. If I can force the machine to reset its parameters. The observer lunged. The machine's voice pulsed. You cannot destroy it. You can only contain it. Carter made a decision. Then do it. Sophia slammed her hand down on the console. The machine reacted. The reset. Reality collapsed inward. For one terrible moment, everything froze. Then. Light. Blinding. Consuming. The observer howled as the machine restructured the universe around it. Carter felt himself being ripped away, his mind, his body, his very existence torn apart and rebuilt in an instant. And then. Silence. Aftermath. When Carter opened his eyes, he was back on the Excalibur. Sophia gasped, her fingers still gripping the console. Maya stumbled forward, breathing hard. Kessler stood still, his weapon lowered. They were alive. But the machine was gone. Or rather. It had never been there. Carter looked at the scanners. The planet below was different. The shifting landscape had settled into a single, stable form. The impossible structures were gone. Maya exhaled. Did we fix it? Sophia shook her head. No. We just stopped the damage. Kessler's voice was grim. And what about the observer? Carter's pulse quickened. Because something told him. It wasn't gone. It was just waiting. Silence. Carter stared at the screen. The planet below them was different now. The impossible structures were gone, the shifting terrain had settled. It was as if the entire landscape had been rewritten. But something was wrong. He could feel it. Kessler stepped forward, his jaw tight. Are we going to talk about what just happened? Maya rubbed her arms, her voice barely above a whisper. We broke the machine. And now the observer is free. Sophia swallowed hard. No. Not free. It's still out there. Still, waiting. Carter's gut twisted. The machine had been the last barrier between them and something ancient. Something that was never meant to exist. And now, that thing had noticed them. The message. A warning klaxon blared through the Excalibur. Incoming transmission. Carter's pulse spiked. No one had sent anything. This wasn't from the ship. Maya's hands flew across the console. Source unknown. But it's not text. Not audio. She trailed off, her eyes widening. It's an equation. The display filled with symbols. Alien, shifting, rewriting themselves in real time. Sophia gasped. It's rewriting itself just like the machine did. Carter's breath came slow and steady. What does it mean? Sophia worked frantically, her fingers trembling as she cross-referenced known physics models. It's a rewrite command. She swallowed. A way to alter fundamental reality. Kessler's face hardened. You're telling me this thing is trying to reprogram the universe? A moment of silence. Then. No, Sophia whispered. It's giving us a choice. The choice. The equation began to split. Two diverging paths. Two possible outcomes. One path led to a universe where the observer remained contained, but at a cost. A fundamental shift in physics that would erase everything they knew. The other? A universe where the observer was free. Where it could rewrite everything. Forever. Maya's voice was tight. It's making us choose. Carter exhaled. It wants us to understand. To see the consequences. Sophia nodded. But we don't have much time. A race against reality. The ship shuddered. The stars outside the viewport twisted, bending at impossible angles. Reality itself was unraveling. Kessler gritted his teeth. If we don't decide soon, it's going to decide for us. Sophia's fingers flew over the controls. I think I can override the equation. But I need time. Maya cursed. We don't have time. And then. The observer spoke. The voice beyond time. Not in sound. Not in language. But in pure thought. A whisper in their skulls, unraveling their understanding of time, space, existence itself. You were never meant to see. Carter gasped, clutching his head as visions flooded his mind. A universe before this one. Before laws. Before order. A place where the observer existed freely. It had been sealed away. Because it was too much. Too vast. Too unknowable. Too dangerous. But now. It was here. And it wanted to change everything. The final decision. Sophia's voice cut through the chaos. Carter. We have to pick a path. Now. The two choices flickered before them. Rewrite reality, seal the observer again, but at the cost of something unknown. Let it remain, and risk everything. Carter's mind raced. Then. He made the call. The end of everything. Sophia input the command. The universe shook. A blast of light erupted from the screen. The ship's systems glitched, time fractured, their bodies stretched beyond the limits of space. Then. Darkness. A new beginning. Carter opened his eyes. The Excalibur was silent. The screens were normal. The stars outside were still. Sophia gasped. Did we? Maya's voice was hollow. Check the planet. Carter turned to the scanners. His stomach dropped. The planet was gone. No ruins. No machine. No anomalies. As if it had never existed. Kessler's grip tightened. What the hell did we do? Sophia's voice was haunted. We reset reality. A long silence stretched between them. Then, the console flickered. A single message remained. A final warning. It still watches. They made the right choice. Or did they? Because somewhere, beyond time, beyond physics, the observer still exists. And it remembers them.